Hey, paisans, the time has come. On the air since 2009, the independently produced, non-FCC compliant champ of video game talk podcasting. Here comes Tiger Claw Radio. Here's your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everybody to Tiger Claw Radio. It's your host, Critical Failure. This week, Rockstar Games has been... Alright, so let's talk about Rockstar Games for a minute. So they have the definitive edition of the GTA trilogy. And it's weird to hear it called that because they're talking about GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. That's what they mean by the GTA trilogy. Personally, when I hear those words, I always think about GTA 1, 2, and 3, right? But I guess that's because I'm old. So the problem is the definitive editions look horrible. I don't know how this happened. Like really, really bad. It almost looks like you would expect, okay, these were PS2 games, so if they upscale them and clean them up, they'll still look like PS2 games, but nicer, so they wouldn't look great. That's not what happened here. Like, some of the models, they actually, like, changed and just looks way worse. I don't know how to explain it, except that the GTA franchise is so beloved. It's been around so long that, of course, there are, like, graphic enhancement mods for all of these games, and they look way better than the definitive versions. It's an embarrassment, to the point where I think Rockstar Games is aptly named because they are like rock stars, aren't they? Old, tired, they don't have the talent they used to, and they're spending their time trying to recapture the glory of the past. All that and more this week on Tiger Claw Radio. Alright, so let's open things up with some chip tunes. Stick around. We'll be right back. Well, that's Carborundum from Scythe. That's from the Novatos Light Side Japanese chiptune compilation that we played here on the air. A couple of months back, that was what I was playing every week. And I thought when I sat down to record, I didn't have a ton going on in terms of video games for myself this past week, so I thought we'd do, do like a deep dive with chiptunes and see, what else is out there in the chiptune world. Then this whole GTA thing happened, and I have to ask, I've been on the outside of the whole PS2 era of GTA. I played GTA 3 when it came out. I played GTA Vice City all of once. And San Andreas I didn't play until I was much, much older. I played San Andreas for the first time just this past year. And I enjoyed it. It was fun, but I didn't play it to the end. I put in a few hours into it and just decided to move on. So these folks who are really upset about the new version not being good, it doesn't really touch me because I have those 3 games on Steam, and I'm satisfied with the releases of the original releases of the 3. Don't need the definitive editions. And I can tell you why. Before you say it, as I know there's a good number of people who are going to say, hey, look, man, the music. They had one of the things GTA is known for is their soundtracks. They were not able to maintain licenses long term for the stuff that they put in those games. So if you download San Andreas in particular, it's the one I hear the most about, and you play it, then you're going to be missing the original soundtrack, which is one of the most celebrated things about the game. You can mod that in. You can mod that in, and I think I'm good, because I think you have to have played it back in the day to really lay in that nostalgia, which I don't have. Another prime example of that is Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi is available on Steam. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. But the original version of Crazy Taxi back on the Dreamcast, the soundtrack was iconic. You know, when people talk about Crazy Taxi now, what's the thing they always say? Yeah, 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 yeah. Right? It's from Offspring. It kind of went hand in hand with that game, but it's all gone now. Not just the soundtrack, but a lot of the licensed advertisements that showed up in the game. Like you could drive past a KFC and stuff, and all that's edited out now. I don't care. I really don't care. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I didn't play Crazy Taxi a ton back in the day. It's just like Vice City. My buddy had it, so I got to play it once, maybe twice at his place, but that was it. And I played it little enough that when I returned to it as an adult, it was like playing a new game. Crazy Taxi is a lot of fun, though. I do recommend picking that one up. I have heard that you can mod that stuff in too with Crazy Taxi. But I didn't pursue it. Once I saw the link, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, so if I really wanted to see it, then I could mod it in. And then I left it alone because it didn't matter to me. But if it does matter to you, the option is there, and that's what I wanted to find out. Okay, a quick Google search. In an unrelated note, there's the Steam Thanksgiving sale. It's the second sale of the trifecta of the end of the year. We get the October sale for Halloween, which is always a big sale. Then we have the Thanksgiving sale, which is also a big sale. And then a month later, we have the Christmas sale, or the winter season sale, whatever you want to call it. So this is number 2. This one is set, at least according to PCGamer.com, this one's set to run from November 24th to November 30th. So that's going to be 9 days from now. This is being recorded on Monday, the 15th. So, yeah, save your pennies. Unless you see something like go on sale for an abnormal amount, probably not the best time to buy right now. I was over on Fanatical yesterday, and I was picking up a couple of games for some of the spare accounts I have, because I have an account for my son, and I have an account for my daughter. And those don't have much in them. The idea is just to maintain like a couple extra copies of some games that we could play LAN. For example, Terraria. My kids love Terraria. They haven't played it much lately, but that's a game that they, have put a ton of time into. So I wanted to make sure we all had copies, so me and the 2 older kids, we could sit together and have a little LAN party. And then I keep an eye out for, some games go really cheap, like a long time ago, they did this with Worms. Worms Armageddon went super cheap, so that's in one of them. Well, I was trying to juice up those accounts, because now, as the kids are getting older, they're actually going to inherit them, and those are going to become, their Steam accounts. So when I see a game that's like pretty cool and being given away, we'll throw it in there. So I got a couple of the old RPG Maker copies, which I know are probably never going to get played, but they went down to like $2. So I got a couple old versions of RPG Maker hooked up and whatnot, and then it occurred to me, hang on, Steam sales are coming, time to not buy anything else at all. And here we are. One thing I have on my radar is the DLC for a game I've been playing lately called Heroes of Hammerwatch, which if you are one of the few, Alex Swingle and Paul and Sean, You know about this game Up and Down, but this has been what we've been playing for the most part lately. Heroes of Hammerwatch. It's like Gauntlet, but worse. It's a Gauntlet roguelite. And I really enjoyed it. Swingle and I played it all the way to the end just a few days back, so I finally finished it. And I liked it to the point where I'm still playing it with other characters, and I think I want to get the DLC. But again, Steam sale's just around the corner, and this game is a couple years old now. I'm thinking the DLC should have a nice ripe sale waiting for me, so I'll pick that up. And yeah, that has been a really good game. It sucks because I went to the official Discord for Heroes of Hammerwatch, and there were like a handful of people there, but it wasn't how can I say this? It wasn't populated enough that you could go on and say, hey man, who's up for a dungeon run? Because that's what I tried to do. And the answer was nobody. Nobody's up for a dungeon run. Somebody responded like 3 hours later after I had already signed out, but that didn't work. So that was kind of awful. So if you're all by your lonesome, then bear that in mind when you pick up Heroes of Hammerwatch, because it's definitely like they got rid of the local multiplayer in favor of online multiplayer. So, what are you going to do? Another dead multiplayer game for you. It's good, though. It's fun. It's a fun game. The Mayo P60 is another Android-based retro handheld coming soon. Yes, there are more handhelds than I can possibly keep track of coming out right now. It definitely is boom time for the handhelds. Hang on a second. This is marked September. Give me a second here. What was the one I was just looking at? Yeah, the Mayu Mini. That's it. The Mayu Mini is China's attempt at the Game Boy Mini. They got another little tiny handheld that's looks a little awkward to play, to be perfectly honest with you, but nice looking little machine. Looks a little bit like a little bit more plasticky version of the RG280V, whatever it is, the one that I have. It's another handheld. Looks like it's going to be a little cheaper, which is kind of nice. Christmas is coming. Anybody thinking about diving into this market? I know it's been a thing with me and Hemrock, but that's been about it. Still looking to see a way for new games to work their way on to these machines. We've got Pico 8 and TIC 80 are both functional on some handhelds, and that, I think, along with ROM hacks and newly developed ROMs for old architecture, I think is really the extent to what they can be used for in terms of new games. But I'm thinking that's something that's going to change in the near future. I don't know. Maybe they'll all go Android based, and then there will be like an Android exporter for Game Maker or something. But I don't know. I think that will change. Not much I can say about that hasn't already been said, except, hey, there's another handheld coming out. And with Christmas coming, if you have been thinking about getting into that market, it might be a pretty good time. I know AliExpress had a really big sale just a little while back. Hemrock actually shot me a text about it. I was like, hey, man, big sale going on. And I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, look at this. This is on sale. Oh, yeah, look at this. This is on sale. You going to get anything? Nah. What about you? Nah. So that's life. That's adulting for you. And that's the handheld market. A lot of good stuff, though. That is true. We'll see what comes, with the holidays. But that's the landscape of gaming at the moment. New handhelds are coming out amidst the boom. We've got the GTA definitive version that everyone seems to hate. We have sales just around the corner, and that's pretty much it. I did mention I picked up a new laptop recently. It is Geo makes this thing, GEO, like the car, and it's definitely a kid's laptop. Like, this is hilariously a children's laptop. It's the Minecraft edition of the Geo laptop. Has a nice processor, nice quad core processor for, it was like $125 or something like that. It's very, very inexpensive when it went on sale. Usually going for a $250. They do that thing now that a lot of laptops are doing, where the hard drive, there's no real internal hard drive. It's just like 64 gigs of flash memory that's more or less just set there so that it can have an operating system, and that's it. So you get this thing, and it's got its tiny little, I guess you call it a hard drive, and then you put an SD card in it that holds 250 gigs, and that's what you got to work with. It's designed so that everything works off the cloud, but since all the stuff that I do for the most part is really tiny in space and size, I don't actually have to go that route, which is great. So I did get Steam hooked up to it, and I was able to play a couple of super basic games, a couple of the idle games I typically play. My big disappointment was Territory Idle. That's the game on Steam that I have the most time in, at 900 plus hours. I played that on the laptop and it worked just fine, but then when I went back to play it on my regular computer, it didn't take advantage of cloud saves. So it's like, it's not like I can work on my regular game on my laptop or on my regular PC. It's one or the other, which sucks. But I was able to get a couple other fun things working. I was able to get Tabletop Simulator working, which is really cool because that means I can do some LAN games, with my kids and whatnot. So that's been pretty fun. I'm pretty happy with that purchase. It is a lime green laptop, and my goodness, it looks horrible, but it does the trick. One thing that's weird about it is the power button is like one of the keyboard keys, and it's up where the delete key normally is on my work laptop. So sometimes when I'm typing and I want to go back, I'll accidentally turn the machine off. So not perfect. It's clearly a cheap laptop, but it's been good for what I need it for. Runs Discord, runs YouTube, that kind of stuff. Took a look at IndieRetroNews.com, which is a site I like to look at for, to see what's going on. That's the site that has all the Commodore 64 and Amiga games and stuff that are getting developed now, because there's apparently a thriving scene of C64 and Amiga stuff. A lot of Amiga on the list right now, because they get updated a lot. I'm surprised they, and it's been a lot of Amiga stuff. The ones that catch my eye are Shadows of Saragoth. That's the biggest one. That's a dungeon crawler that's really, really good looking. Really good looking. It looks like a cleaned up version of Eye of the Beholder, I would say. And that's for Amiga. That's good enough looking that I would get into Amiga to try that. Considering what the pricing is. And I usually look for C64 stuff when they do these, because that's what I have right now, the C64 Mini. Didn't really see anything on the C64 except for Boulder Dash Junior 6, another C64 Boulder Dash game. So that's a thing over on Indie Retro News. I haven't decided if I'm going to... Well, I did decide, but now I'm waffly again on if I'm going to make the jump into Amiga with the new Amiga Mini that's coming out in March of next year, because it's pretty pricey. But I don't know. I haven't decided if I want that or if I want to get the C64 Maxi or whatever. I don't know. I'm still on the fence on all that. But there you go. That's a scene that's still thriving, and I will check back. I'll let you know if anything gets released on that front that I think is legendary, that deserves talking about. But right now, it's this the Shadows of Saragoth. Looks really, really good. In the past, I mentioned a Rogue 64, which is a Commodore 64 version of Rogue that was in development. And I reached out to the developers, and I asked them how it's come along. Or you think we'll still get a 2021 release? And that's still what they're aiming for. They want Rogue 64 to come out in 2021. So they've got a little over... They got a month and a half left, and we'll see what happens, because... it's looking pretty good, and this is the time where I'm like, C64, Amiga, which is the best? I need to know. And right now, it's looking like Amiga's got the power, but C64 has the games. All right, we're just about 20 minutes in. Let's take a minute to thank the sponsors, because this is, in fact, a Patreon-sponsored program. Human beings just like you and me give their resources to make sure TCR can come back every single week, no matter what, rain or shine. So to them, I offer early access to the show when I can, although its schedule's been tight recently. And I also produce a series called Monday Night Morrowind, just for the supporters. And I read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen here on the air. They are Hemrock, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, and Eric Controller. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you're enjoying the party. Also, by the way, over on Discord, I made a supporters room. So if you're a supporter, you can pop over there and you'll be able to see a feed of Monday Night Morrowind as it comes out every week. Yeah, so that's cool. So thank you guys very much. Let's listen to some chiptunes. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. It's time to party. That's Make You Move from Majesty 14. Over at Battle of the Bits, that's from their Sega Master System collection that came out a little while back. I want to do another chiptune before we move to the second half of the show, because one of the things Hemrock's been talking about in his emails is through the 8-Bit Collective archive, one of the artists he recommends is Cerror, C-E-R-R-O-R. Error with a C in the front of it. So I went to my 8-Bit Collective archive, not the archive that's available like the torrent that everybody can get, but my personal archive of selected MP3s that I saved 10 plus years ago on the actual 8BC site myself. And sure enough, there's that name. Now I haven't looked this person up, so I haven't heard the tracks that are off of the archive that he's been going through, but my much smaller archive that I built myself. Here it is. This is Seaside Blues from Cerror off of the 8-Bit Collective. Shifting gears over to the fail bag, we got one from Hemrock where he says, "Greetings and salutations, Critical Failure. Thank you as usual for another episode. RIP PAX South. You asked about other major video game conventions based in the South. Other sizable video game-centric cons, at least in Texas, include Classic Games Fest in Austin, Rooster Teeth RTX conference also in Austin, and Fan Expo in Dallas. I'm probably missing some. There's also a lot of other smaller and more anime-focused conventions, but those don't really interest me. How's the chiptune compilation coming along? Play anything on that PS3? And how's Pico 8 development? Do you have a favorite Pico 8 game?" We're going to take a quick break to answer these three questions. The chiptune compilation is coming along, but it's slow. I still only have the same 4 entries, and it's kind of taken a backseat to some of the other stuff I've been up to at the moment. Yeah, definitely still doing that. That's not going anywhere. It'll be out eventually. At this point, every compilation I've ever announced on CME has made it out in one form or another. So this will not be an exception. As far as the PS3 is concerned, no, I haven't played anything on it yet. It hasn't been fired up at this point. I've just been doing other things. I have it sitting on a table in front of the TV where I could hook it up without actually moving the unit. That's how close it is. But just haven't taken the plunge yet. As far as Pico 8 development, it's moving along. I mean, I have a long way to go, let's be honest. I might be able to do some basic things pretty soon, but I'm learning to code applications from scratch. That takes a bit. I can do a few things. I can draw a sprite, and I can make that sprite appear. But the last thing I did in terms of development was I was trying to code it so that I could do different screens, right? You have a function that runs every frame, so 60 times a second, or 30 times a second, or whatever, and it listens for commands. So if button 1 is pressed, then move forward, or X, or that sort of thing. The problem is I wanted that to be conditional based on flags, right? So there will be a title screen flag. If title screen is false, then listen for controls. And so the game would start, and then it would wait a few seconds for the title screen, and then when you press a button, flip that title screen flag off, that sort of thing. I had no luck doing that, and that was kind of disheartening. So this happened a couple weeks back, and I haven't returned to it since. But now I do have a computer, like a laptop. I can do it away from my nest here, which is something I really wanted. And in terms of a favorite Pico 8 game, my favorite is still Curse of the Lich King. I wouldn't say it's the best. It's a roguelike, like a traditional roguelike. That's honestly pretty light. Like you can do a run of that game pretty quickly. There was I wish I could remember the name of it, but over on the Pico 8 subreddit, there was something that looked a lot like Super Crate Box that had just come out. There's pretty nice stuff coming out for it in recent days, but I'll have to get back to that when I can. As it is, like here we are a day late with TCR. Things are happening. But back to the email. He says, "What is your desert island floppy?" By this, I mean if you were stuck on a desert island with a single computer that ran DOS and only had programs/games you could use on a single floppy, what would be on said floppy disk? It would have to fit within the space of 144 megabytes, and you would need the actual games on disk. For instance, there's no point in packing it full of Jetpack levels if you don't have jetpack.exe. Well, Jetpack's actually a really good pick because you don't have to pack it with levels. You would just have the game, and then you could make the levels. Yay! And a matter of fact, another good choice along those lines is ZZT, and I don't know if we've talked about that a lot. But in terms of like the game that it comes with, ZZT is it's okay. But in terms of what you can build with ZZT, and I know that game fits on a floppy disk, that's like a must-have in terms of Desert Island games, to the point where that actually was one of my Desert Island games on my DOS-only machine. But to give you an answer that's probably closer to what you're looking for, Rogue, the original Rogue, is a great choice because that's one that is very small, and you can dig into Rogue and play for hours and hours and hours. At least you could back in the 80s. That doesn't happen a ton now. I don't know if this would be on my Desert Island disc, but another really good choice is Armchair Quarterback, which weighs in at 52 kilobytes. That's a really good text-based, NFL, like pro football game. I'm not much of a sports guy, but that's a good football game from MS-DOS. So ZZT and Jetpack together would be almost the entire disk, I believe. Actually, let me see if I can get a figure on that. Hang on. Yeah, my Jetpack folder with the levels that I have is 676 KB. And I don't know if I have an implementation of ZZT handy. Do I? Other? Give me a second. I'm navigating like my backup collection. Okay, no. We're going to go back to the original DOS folder. Yeah, there's my ZZT implementation. Oh, wait. Oh, no, that's not right. That's DOS. Okay, right-click ZZT. Yeah, 14 megabytes. No, that's incredibly inflated because of all the stuff I have. So I don't know what a ZZT implementation by itself weighs in at. But the games that you can build with it have a tendency to get really inflated. What about Pinball Construction Set? That's another really good one. Again, a little inflated. Wait, hold on. That's PC menu. Pinball Construction Set is a game where, like, it has the construction set. Yes, you can build the pinball games, but just taking it on its own as a straight-up pinball game, you know, if you slow it down to a playable format, then yeah, it's a really good game without ever really having to build anything. Yeah, I mean, I end up in the same boat as you in that there's a lot of really good bare-bones DOS games that you could call Desert Island games or games that would fit with the Desert Island theme. But not a lot that would all fit on the same disk together, which would make sense why back in the day people used to have those like disk cabinets. That was a thing, disk boxes. Vet, that's a good one. The racing game Vet, VETTE. It's like an open world racing game. It's set in San Francisco where you can drive around on the real life location. I used to love that game when I was a kid. That'd fit on a floppy disk alongside a text adventure or two. But yeah, what about yourself? What are your desert island games? And you put check the Discords for retro news. I'm rooting for you, Hemrock. Good to hear from you, brother. Thanks for writing in. Let's take a look back at the Discord to see if I got any retro news stuff from over the past couple days. Humble Bundle had the RPG Maker stuff on sale, and that has since ended. We go, oh, I see. I remember. Let's check out your Discord. Didn't you post some stuff up there? Yeah, here it is. No, here it isn't. That's us talking. I don't want me to read that on the air. Yes. The Legend of Zelda Game & Watch is released is released today in the USA. It contains 4 games, the 2 NES ones, the Game Boy Zelda, and a classic Game & Watch game. Surprisingly, it doesn't appear to be a clamshell in design. $50. Let's open the link and take a look. It sure looks like a Game & Watch with a real screen. That definitely is 4 ROMs for $50. Look at that. I once again, come on Zelda, come on Nintendo. This would have been an amazing product 10 years ago. Why did you wait until we have better options to release this kind of thing? Jeez. It's got my favorite Zelda game. I love the Game Boy one. I think it's the best one ever. And there it is. Good looking machine. Can't justify $50. But hey, maybe it'll be one of those things where it's $50 now, but you know, in a couple of weeks it'll be $200 because they're all going to disappear. You know how that goes. They made a product. They certainly did buy a thing. Now, what I like about this is the graphics are video accelerated. So they're a little smoother, but you got to look real close. Alright, it took me so long to produce this episode. I actually did get another email while I've been producing it. So let's jump back to Gmail and see what we got here. We're going to let it load up. I hope that's not too loud. It looks like the needles are peaking a little bit. Yeah, okay, there's my Gmail box, and we'll just back it up just a wee bit. There we go. That's the 12th. No? Come on, Emrock. You sent me another one like just yesterday, didn't you? Failed bag. Alright. Get one for the 12th. Oh, I guess that's it. Hang tight 1 second. I could have swore that Hemrock sent me something just last night, and now I'm not seeing it. Let me pop into the Discord. Maybe it's there. Yeah, here we go. A popular Japanese ROM hack of Final Fantasy VI has finally been translated to English. From the website, Ff6t Edition is a popular Japanese ROM hack of Final Fantasy VI, intended for Final Fantasy VI fans who would like to play the game with new twists. Think of T Edition as a fun, lengthy, and more difficult version of FF6 from an alternative universe. In simple terms, this ROM hack retains the original story, but adds a lot of new content around the main story, including side quests, locations, dungeons, super bosses, unlockable character costumes, each with stat changes, a music player, and more. And it celebrates the Final Fantasy series in countless ways, including hundreds of pieces of music from other games in the series, updates to the game mechanics with bug fixes, difficulty modifications, and new spells, new attacks, and new items, and a whole lot more. There is a link to the tomato.fabi.net site where you can go pick that up. So jump over to the Discord so you can see that. Final Fantasy is awesome. It's really cool to see, because a mod like that had to have been... I mean, this is just saying it was finally translated to English, right? Somebody had to make that thing. And I can't think of a scenario where you would make a ROM hack and get paid for it. I can't think of a scenario where that would happen. So I think that makes these types of things just a little bit more special. Not because I have anything against the devs getting paid, but because they're clearly doing it, you know, for love of the game, so to speak. Alright, so now let's jump over to YouTube and take a look at the comments from this past week. Mecha Menace says, $60 for a Blu-ray player. Ouch. You're getting into the PSC a little late/early. Pre-Panda, prices for the good games plummeted. They exploded because of the craziness last year, but are gently going down again. Though I don't believe some titles will be as cheap as they were previously. Like anything Spider-Man, I recommend getting a PS3 camera for like $8 to $10 plus shipping, and some of the cheaper light gun games. Yeah, I think Swingle spoke highly of those as well. But let's read on. You'll also need the ball motion controller and possibly a navigation controller. If you're into platformers and Disney, there's Epic Mickey 2. There's a lot of cheap light gun games. But if you want to splurge, there are some more pricey shooty games like those based on Resident Evil and House of the Dead. Child of Eden is very cheap, like Rez on Dreamcast. It's like Rez on Dreamcast. Okay, quick break. I actually played Child of Eden. I had that on Xbox 360. The brief period of time where we had and used a Kinect. I do have a Kinect, and I used it for like... It was plugged in for like a week, and then we were like, nah, man. But let's get back to the email. He says, you mentioned that you may dig into MotoStorm Apocalypse. MotoStorm Pacific Rift seems to get the most acclaim in that series. If you want some of the off-beaten path card games, I recommend Stuntman, Ignition, and Split Second. All right. Your kids don't like Star Wars, but there's plenty of good Lego games they may like. They mostly play the same. It might be that I like Batman, but I enjoy Lego Batman. I haven't played any of the 2 or 3. I haven't played any of 2 or 3, so I have no clue if they faceplant after that. There's Jurassic Park / World, Marvel Superheroes, as well as Avengers, Indiana Jones, and tons of other variants. Most being sub $10, even brand new. Yeah, I tried a couple of those in my Steam collection. Give me a second, let me bring it up here. I've got a few Lego games in my Steam collection, and I tried to get them set up with some local multiplayer, because local multiplayer Steam games have always been something I loved. So what did we end up with? We ended up with Lego Batman, the video game, which I've had for years. I last played 2012. The first one, my kids didn't get into it. And then I got Lego The Hobbit when it was free, and they wouldn't even try it. And by the way, I like those games. I played all the way through both of the older Lego Star Wars games, like the original trilogy and then the prequel trilogy. Played all the way through those, like on PS2, years and years ago. I really enjoyed those, which is why I ended up with that for the PS3, because it was, hey, this is a game you like, well, I can get you this. Makes a lot of sense. But they are very much, they shine in local multiplayer, and I don't think I'm going to play through it again. So that's why I think I can let those go. But you're right, they are really good. They're a lot of fun. All right, I accidentally clicked off your comments. Let's get back to it. Ghostbusters 2009 is basically Ghostbusters 3 with a good bit of nostalgia. Recommended. I have that on Steam. I was lucky enough to get it before it was taken off the market. Batman Arkham Asylum, if you like old school Transformers. The first game is great. War for Cybertron. That I might be into. Batman, I remember trying on the Xbox 360, and again, it was really good. It's just something about playing it at that time. I was talking to somebody who was super into it, and it was constantly like, "Did you play Batman yet, bro? Did you play Batman yet, bro?" And that's making me like not try it. Which is a stupid reason to not play a game. I'm fully aware that's a ridiculous reason to not want to play a game. So don't get me wrong. Mirror's Edge is a fun platformer, though it's short. There's DLC that's fun to screw around with and may still be freely downloadable. I haven't logged in lately. Marvel Ultimate Alliance is basically Gauntlet Legends, but everybody's wearing spandex. I'm down. Pac-Man's Ghostly Adventures 2 is a surprisingly fun platformer. All sound like really good games. I have tons of downloadable games for recommendation, but I'm unsure if PSN for PS3 is still active. You could always hack your system and basically get anything and not worry about those dollar games taking up space. I've hacked and unhacked systems either way. If you still want some downloadable recommendations, ask. I'll reply next time. Yeah, I'm definitely still down with that. Now, it's been a while since I've been on PSN, but I did check it out a couple of times over the years. And at least as of like a year ago, you could still get on there and buy games. Now, as Sendu mentioned, the long praised final modern system of free multiplayer is gone. They now charge for multiplayer, but I'm pretty sure you can still buy PSN games. Pretty sure about that. Again, I got to fire it up and test it to find out for sure, but I think so. Any of the things that you are say would be worth downloading, I'd be interested to hear, because when it was hooked up previously back in the day, I was interested in JRPGs. Right, the back when when the PS3 was like the kingpin system, the PS1 games that were available for it as downloadable titles, that was like an industry changing thing. You had games that went regularly for $100+ would be legitimately downloadable, for very cheap, like Ff6t and whatnot. So that's what I currently have installed on it. Like it's got a fistful of downloadable titles. Like a couple of the Final Fantasy games from the PS1 era, and then Ff6t and then Grandia, and a couple of games like that. I can't remember the entire list, but that is pretty much it. But yeah, I am looking forward to playing it. I have no idea when that's going to happen, and I'm going to be perfectly honest, it might be a while because we're just around the corner from another big Steam sale, and you know how I love those. Those always change whatever I'm up to. Next one. So YouTube is killing my comments since they thought anything more thought-provoking than cool vid. Check your approvals tab. Yeah, man, I watch for your comments, dude. I got you, man. Gaming Beast 82. My kids don't like Star Wars. CF 2021. Can't blame them mostly. Well, I'll say more in a voice comment that I'll send in the Discord. Yeah, I'll check Discord again, but I don't think that ever surfaced. Yeah, I don't know, man. I legitimately enjoyed Star Wars: The Force Awakens. That I didn't start getting irritated with it until later. I legitimately enjoyed that movie. And then the second movie, The Last Jedi, was like, nah, man, I'm done. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not a big Star Wars guy. Sean, good to hear from you. Mecha Menace as well. Good to hear from you too, man. Desm says 17 minutes. Oh, actually, let's backstep for a little bit, because this was something I wanted to touch on. Mecha Menace opened his email with $60 for a Blu-ray player. Ouch. And you know what? I kind of agree with you on that, but I'm pretty happy with the purchase because it works a bit more like an Android box. Like, it's a Blu-ray player, yes, but it also, has some streaming stuff going on, and like I can use it to watch what's on my phone on TV. I can't even think of the non-ridiculous way to say that, but I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it. It's small. I like small form factor disc players. If you go to the thrift store, you can get a nice DVD player for like $3, but it'll be huge. It'll be the size of like an old school CD player from the 1980s when they would take up an entire rack on a stereo system. But let's move on to Desm. Desm had a comment here. Give me a second. Let me dig it up. Oh man, I'm the worst at puzzles and finding out stuff like that in 3D games. Without guides and the internet, I would have probably given up on video games if I had to figure out getting past puzzles on my own. I get frustrated too darn fast with puzzles, and I'm only decent at retro games because I grew up with them. Yeah, fair enough. Same here. Mecha responds with, modern games don't flex my mind at all. Everything is pointed out so you don't miss it. Probably varies per game, but retro games I think were designed so that the puzzles were purposely obtruse. A lot of the times I would abstract what I'm seeing and hearing. How does this scene look if it were realized? A lot of those alcoves in the original Tomb Raider blend smoothly because of the uniform texturing and bad lighting. However, if I pull back and say there would be rubble and vines obscuring the entrance, I can understand how a secret alcove was designed in such a way that it would blend in because of the limited technology. I think designers now are told to design like everybody is a dummy. Hence, in-game tutorials, hence special items are highlighted, hence a lot of rote dialogue trees. In-game tutorials were around before instruction manuals were made electronic only. But how slow do they make things feel when they take you out of the experience? Only thing definitely has improved in my liking is more feedback about whether you solved the puzzle or found something hidden. I've said it a million times on the air, but this is because that when video games are made, they know that the amount of time and interest that the consumer is going to put into them is way more limited than it used to be. They were able to make puzzles more obtruse back in those days because if you threw down the cash to get the game, you were all in, brother, and if you couldn't figure out where to go, they knew you were going to grind for a while to try and find it. That's not the case anymore. Now, if you pay, I think even the Tomb Raider games are 99 cents, the classic ones this past week. If you pay 99 cents for the original Tomb Raider, having never played it, and you get stuck on that second level, because the second level is really, really big, well, then that goes up on the shelf, and you move on to something else in your Steam collection. It's different. It's the market has changed, so the design philosophy has to change with it. That's something I think even Mecha, as much as you and I disagree on a lot of things, I think that's one thing we all pretty unanimously agree on. Desm, good to hear from you, man. Thanks for checking in. Merv on the Ambernic 280V versus PAL KDV90 video says, Atari Lynx sucks, but it does have chips challenge. Thanks for the review. I, for the life of me, can't decide between these two consoles. Get the PAL KDV90. Get the PAL KDV90 because it feels better in your hands. Yes, the Ambernic is going to be able to run more things. Yes, it's a more powerful system. Yes, the Ambernic screen looks very, very nice. But it just does not feel good to play. You're not going to play through an RPG on the 280V. It's not going to happen. I've tried it. I tried to like that thing. Hemrock says, I'm pretty sure this is the wrong person you're speaking to for the quest at the beginning of the video. He's talking about Monday Night Morrowind. Please refer to my comment in the last video. Compare the names in the journal. I think the spell you're looking for is Calm Humanoid. However, I believe once you find the right person, you'll be able to give them the gift and the speech options on the side panel. Yes, all of what you said is absolutely correct, and I found that out in the video that was supposed to come out 4 days ago. That will come out today, I promise. Very sorry. Yeah, I was just reading my journal wrong. And then finally, I made a video yesterday saying, hey, TCR will be out on Wednesday, or it was a couple days ago. And Wednesday came and went, and the second it rolled over to Thursday, Mecha Menace left the comment, nope. Oh, Mecha Menace. Thank you for keeping me accountable, brother. I do appreciate it. And I think that's it. I think that's all we have on the fail bag. We read the emails. We went over YouTube and read the comments and whatever. And that's TCR for this week. I'm sorry it took so long to get out. And I don't know how I'm going to put another episode out, that has to be recorded in a couple days. Give me a second here. Excuse me. That's TCR for the week. Sorry for being late. I know, I'm the worst. But I appreciate you coming in and checking out the show and listening to some chiptunes, hanging out, talking some video games, just taking it easy. I appreciate it. And whatever it is you got going on this next week, I hope it goes well for you, and I'm rooting for you. Take care, and I'll see you next Monday.